Thank you, Amy. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening. What a wonderful group of people, so many friends, and we're really happy that you are here, and I think this is going to be a fun evening. The artist Jose Bedia needs no introduction. I am not going to go through his incredible resume because we wouldn't get past that. It would take a long time, and I know you're here because you know who he is. And his work is all over Miami, and he just came back from an exhibit in New York. So he is definitely, as Amy said, one of our most renowned and highly respected artists and a good friend. We share a great interest in the art of the Americas and the art of indigenous peoples everywhere. The conversation that we're going to have tonight relates to Bedia's collection of ritualistic and ceremonial art. We're not going to talk about his art tonight. We're going to talk about the art that he collects. The art is informed by extensive travels where he is able to research and expand upon his knowledge of the people and the places where what we call art was created. And I always emphasize that because when we are looking at the art of pre-Columbian Americas, when we're looking at the art of Africa, we're not looking at art. We're looking at objects that have ritual significance. They don't really belong in a museum on a shelf. They had much more important locations, and that's what he has discovered. We began our planning for tonight with my visit to his amazing home, a museum itself with a remarkable library, all attesting to his wide-ranging interests, not to mention his art, which is a subject for another time. We looked at objects that we felt could relate to the Kislak collection as a starting point for this conversation. So we wanted to be able to look at some Kislak objects, some of the objects in his collection, and talk about collections in general, whether it's a private collection or whether it is a public collection. As you know, the Kislak collection is one of the most extraordinary collections in the United States. And it is located in the Library of Congress. It's located at the University of Miami, at Pennsylvania, and we are so fortunate that we have such beautiful objects in the Freedom Tower as well, that hopefully we're crossing our fingers we're going to get back and see shortly. I don't know how shortly that's going to be. So we looked at the objects, and we talked about the Kislak objects, and Jose is quite familiar with them. And we decided, we chose some objects that we thought could be starting points for this conversation. He could look at them and make the connections between the Kislak objects and his objects in his home. So we're very interested in the people, in the histories, and the symbolic value of all of these objects. The value that is part of the ritual nature of this collection, the Kislak collection, and of Jose's collection as well. So let's see if I can do this. I'll do everything at once here. So Jose, we're going to beginning. We're calling this recorded memories from the past to the present. And that's exactly what this whole discussion is about, because the collections are recording the memories. They are keeping the memories. So the first object of extraordinary significance is this skull, a Taino Arawak skull that is in the Kislak collection. And it really opens up the door to the ritual nature of the objects that we're going to be looking at. And also, I love this object because it's very small. It's just a little skull, but it's so beautiful. And one of the things that I love about the Kislak collection and about so much of the art we're going to look at tonight is its beauty. They're really beautiful objects, and we can use that word so freely when we look at them. And not only are they beautiful, but the craftsmanship is extraordinary. So I start with this object, and you want to Why do you like this object?
Well, first of all, I have to say thank you to have me here tonight and all of you to be here. And thank you to Carl Deming. She's an old friend who helped me to connect me with the community for many years. I really want to say thank you to her first to invite me. It's a big honor for me to be here. And actually, I had to point in the Kisla collection was the first important collection where I visited Miami from the moment where I moved into here in 1993 by the hand of Mr. Duncan, who take me there, and he showed me in private opportunity the whole collection. And for me, this is a very important encounter because this is my passion, and this is a passion what we share together. It's some kind of more than a passion, it's an infatuation. We have these type of things.
Obsession.
Yep, an obsession. Yep. And the object what I have here, the first thing what we select, I mean, she let me to select certain things.
You want me to get back to that?
I started to the Taino piece because for me the Taino have a link with my own country. So we are part Taino in some way, and we came from that culture, the culture who was all over the Caribbean. No matter what in the label, the original label say they describe this as a dog. For me, it's a mixture. It's a very important mixture between a human skull and a fierce teeth who make a reference to the bat. Why the bat? Because the bat living in cave, and the link with the cave is related to Taino with the idea of the underworld. Everything coming from the underworld. And the people, the ancestors, go there, and they are in connection with the underworld through the cave. And this is the important thing of this object. And also the material, the shell, is something very delicate. It's the shell that we know that was a trading material where they were trading with the tribe from inland territory, because they came from the ocean. It was difficult to get it. And it's difficult also to carving. So this requires a great skill to get in that level of carving, especially when they made that particular type of Taino classical design with two dots with line connecting each other. This had to be erased and cut it like a saw and the smooth surface of the shell. So we moving in the underwear area with the Taino culture. Let's continue. And I want to make a comparison with two other pieces. Another Taino piece from they name it the Idol of Milan, because they was founded in an old anthropological collection in Milano, Italy. And nobody knows how they can be identified until years later. They determined it was a Taino piece. And it's a semi-representation. And I make a comparison with another piece from Rapa Nui Island in Easter Island, who look quite similar. Both have a human skull preserved inside. And this make a link once again with the ancestor. The idea is to keep certain specific important people near of the family. They don't let it go completely. Certain important family, they have to be still around in the community in order to receive an advice and a connection from what they're supposed to do in the next future. So they keep those figures beside like a part of the family. And they attending like idols. So the semi-infant is related with the idea of the skull or the main body conserved and preserved wrapped up in certain material. The Milano idol is wrapped up in cotton, and the other is wrapped up in tapa. Tapa is a fabric. I mean, it's a type of bark from the Pacific area.
Go on.
So no, wait.
Whoops, no, not yet. Whoops.
So this one is another semi. It's made with a fragment from the stalagmite. The label says a fragment of the stalactite, but it's the fragment from the stalagmite. So the bottom section of the column where they drop the calcification in cave is made also with a line cut in the surface, and it's once again you can see the representation of the human skull with the teeth and have a little added in the side. It's like a small extra idol who have beside the main figure. This was made from take it out of the cave. by cutting that hard material from the cave. And it's a part of, once again, of the link with the underworld, with the Taino people. So that the relation with the cave is, we can trace it back in time. We go to the next one.
To the cave?
With the Huacharo cave in Venezuela. So, and we know the Taino people are right in the Caribbean, coming all the way from the Orinoco area in Venezuela, all the way jumping from one island to the other one, until the big island of Puerto Rico, Española, Cuba, and Jamaica, and also the Bahamas. But that cave was visited in the 18th century by the famous explorer, German explorer Alexander von Humboldt, and he been there, taken by the Arawak Indian, and they mentioned that at the end of that cave, they have a wall, and these are the main gate and the main door of the underworld. So all this tradition was connected back in time with the Orinoco culture, the Arawak culture from Venezuela. So here,
Go back to the Kislev collection.
This is another piece from the Kislev collection. It's a superb example of the Maya-based painting with a stucco, with the dignitary giving away or receiving a fan from one of his servants.
Here we can have a.
Yeah, he's standing on top of the stair of his own palace, and he have a conversation with the other two servants in the side. The important thing here to talk about is the throne. Behind him is a throne where he's supposed to be sitting, and in the corner of the throne you can see a tray clay fitted up with a book with a bunch of papers. So this is the important thing with the Maya. The Maya was recorded everything in books, and there is a bunch of papers sitting on the tray. So they were discussing something about maybe from the cosmological events or something related with the harvest of the community, and the attitude of the guy. So he have the whole idea of the king, of the dignitary who giving order to the rest of the people in the court.
We have a detail of the glyphs also that tell the story of what's happening
here. This is
here.
the important thing because the skill of the people who painted those bays was so important. There was the main occupation of those guys was only painting bases, because in those bases the dignitary drink the chocolate. So the chocolate was something dedicated especially only for dignitaries. Nobody else can drink chocolate, and the people who painted those bases was a specific group of artists. Sometimes they let him even include his own signature in the glyph.
Right, and also this particular work relates to a lot of what we're going to be talking about as far as the various objects and the significance of the objects, how they're actually worn, and how they play a role in the rituals that take place. So it's a big, it's like a circle. You're going back to how the objects were used. And as I said, these are things that now we're looking at them on a pedestal in a museum, but they had a very important role in burials. These are all objects that we were not meant to be seeing at all. They were death cult objects. Let's go on to another one.
Here's another one. Mm-hmm. In this case, once again, it's a scribe or a secretary or servant passing a book to the main dignitary sitting on the other side of the base. The base is divided in two sections like a cartoon strip. In one section, the servant offered the book, and the other side, the dignitary receiving the book in the hand. So, but the head of the guy, of the dignitary, is a cormorant bird. So the cormorant is important for the Maya culture, because the cormorant is the bird who is able to swimming under the water, I mean the underworld, and coming out to the upper world. That's why the cormorant is a very important bird related with the mythology of the Mayan people.
Let's go on to the next one.
So talking about books.
Your books, yeah.
Talking about books, we go in here to connect. This is my main goal with the lecture, to connect the past. So this is what we are involved here, to show all the materials, to try to explain to the people how the past is an active past. It's something we're still alive, and it's not dead. It's still alive, and it's connected with the present. So these are actual contemporary book made by the Otomi group of people in Sierra de Puebla in San Pablito, Mexico. So this book was made by a famous shaman from the area, Alfonso Garcia Telles, and he produced this book using the traditional material, the same type of board paper what the Maya used to use in those years. So he explained the whole story of the community in different sections. He also made a commentary about the fight between curanderos, the transit of the soul in order to get out of the purgatorium, the ceremony to harvest and to heal the milpa, I mean the field, when they planting the corn. So he make a group of books, follow the tradition of the old pre-Hispanic time.
And more, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to continue this discussion of the First Peoples and the traditions that come through symbolism and designs and patterns that we're going to see repeated over and over again from one culture area to another, and each one with a really wonderful meaning for the peoples that created them.
So here we go now with all the group. They don't have paper, but they use the material what they have around. So this is a group of people from the Ojibwe culture and Anishinaabe people from the Great Lake area in the northern part of the United States and Canada. They used to use, during the Middle Women Society, certain memory record made in beech bark. So this is a little scroll that I was able to open to show the path of the different step of the ceremony. And in the other one, also made in beech bark, they have two animals with a line of life connecting the mouth with the heart, looking to the sun. So in some ways, there's a connection to the idea to keep in memory certain specific ceremonies of the Middle Women Society. The Middle Women Society is a society to healing purpose. It's a group of shamans to try to heal in the community. So here is also from the Kislak. It's a group of portraits made by James Otto Lewis, and he produced that in the early 18th century. 19th century. 19th century. Mm-hmm. And he made portraits of the chief, the most important persons from the Native American people from the woodland area. See, it's about 72 plates from 1835.
This is one of our most beautiful and valuable books in the collection.
Those are Litos, right? Mm-hmm. As well as the group of Litos from George Catlin. Mm-hmm. George Catlin came right after Otto Lewis, but he crossed the Mississippi River, so he was able to go farther in the far west area, spending 8 years living with the Plain Indian people. And he have, as an artist, as a person, he have a great attitude to be in contact with the group. He never have a problem in those heavy times. He always well received in the group, and he have big respect for people, and they express the same respect to him. And they're letting him participate in ceremonies. And he recorded very specific ceremony of the life of the Plain Indian people, specifically Mandan, Hidatsa, and Lakota. All the aspect of the life was covered there.
So by your collection.
Yes. Yeah, but 30 years, less than 30 years after George Catlin visited that area, the whole scene was changed. And there was a confrontational moment of the group of immigrants who was sent by the American government to the main Indian territory, and they have a confrontational attitude with the local people who were living there. So the whole thing started a battle, and they start to killing each other in the rough way. But beside that traumatic moment, the Plain Indian people was able to create an amazing group of a brand new type of art, what named ledger drawing tradition. From the moment when the first a Plain Indian warrior killed American soldier, and he taking one of the notebooks from the pocket of the dead soldier, they start to draw. And this began the whole tradition of this type of drawing around the 1860s. So we have two Arapaho drawing here, made by the Arapaho warrior. They have mostly war scenes, but they also have courting scenes. When the men getting approached with the woman to have another wife, because in those years there was a big, many people died and many women remain alone. So they had to increase in the population having multiple wives. So now, in the present time, I'm going to show you Amalia Astorga was my old friend from the Cherry people community in Mexico, in the Sonoran Desert. She passed away in 2012. She was a great artist. She was a healer. She was a shaman woman. We've been in contact for many years, from 1986 to 2012. And she started to draw after I suggest her to draw, because I think she has the skill to do that. And she has two particular type of style. The simple style, who she just followed the teaching what she saw in the cave in the area. They have this particular simplicity style, with the spirit coming out of the cave. But the other particular style who have his personal style, who have the relation between animals and humans, but was very full of details. So we have a ground squirrel talking with a possum about the egg.
Another one.
And she recorded also all the animals in the area. She has a good eye to recognize everything and describe in detail the scorpion, the rattlesnakes. And she incorporates tests also to explain all about what is the condition of the animal. Is it a dangerous animal? How it can be used for healing purpose.
And look at the patterns.
Yeah,
The patterns of the snake and even the patterns of the bug, because these are the patterns that repeat themselves over and over again. And so many of them are derived from animal patterns.
So she also was able to draw the landscape who have exactly behind her house, because she lived in the Gulf of Baja California, in the Sea of Cortez or sea. And she used to have the beach in front and the desert in the back. And she was able to make the landscape of the mountain behind her house. And the other drawing is a body painting made by the maidens in the face. So that painting is made at a specific moment of the ritual of passage, when the girl went to have a transitional moment to be a girl, to be the actual woman in the community. So talking about that, we have another shaman who is a cousin of Amalia, performing a ceremony in front of the leatherback turtle. The leatherback turtle was painted with the same motif what we saw in the previous image, because they considered that leatherback turtle the person who passed away in the community, who came back as in the shape of the turtle, and they had to pay respect to the turtle and make a ceremony for 2 days, and after that they released the turtle to the ocean again. But you can see the shell of the turtle is painted with the motif.
Yep.
Here we have another artist but in this case from the jungle in Peru, Lastenia Canayos. She's my friend, is a Chibibo Conibo artist. She has a particularly realistic style. Because in the group, the Chibibo Conibo people make some specific abstract paint, drawing and embroidered. But she created her own style, because she proposed herself to make every character related with the plants. So she tried to make every Ivo or dueño or owner of each plant. And she started to make those embroidered related to make a portrait of the lord of that specific plant. But in the community was a competitor, a friend of him or her, who started to carving the same character which she made on wood.
Oh, so the wood is not hers?
No, it's a friend of her in the same community. It's an old man, but unfortunately he passed away. But they was making a collaboration for a while. So here we have a Navajo drawing made on paper. Here the different characteristics. This is a type of thing unusually made by the Navajo people, the Diné culture. because this is the type of character that not supposed to be made for last forever. So they only come out during when they make the sun painting ceremonies, and they have to be ephemeral, so they have to be destroyed after the ceremony. But usually in this case, the artist, the Navajo artist, made this thing permanently, and he considered the figure like a real figure who is alive. So he had to paint the figure first naked, and they had to dress it little by little. He made the body first, and then he put the decoration on the skirt right after on top. So here we have the cardinal point showing with the different color with the rattlesnake. And here we can see the lake with the weaving materials. So the same four snake pointing to the cardinal point, and the cloud and the rain coming down. This is the Members culture, also from New Mexico, but this is a pre-Hispanic culture. And here they have a whole universe made it inside a concave surface of the bowl. But those bowls have a funerary function. That's why they had to be breaking intentionally. They call the kill holes. So before to put it in grave, the main bowl had to be dead and the owner. And here we have a walrus dogs made by the Chukchi people from Bering Strait. He tried to tell the story of the Kelet. Kelet is a cannibal spirit who was chasing and stalking women. He have a pointing head and 8 arms. So you can see him behind the tree watching the woman collecting the mushroom, the Amanita muscaria hallucinogenic or mushroom from the area. He grabbed the women and he tied up in the tree by the legs, and he walked away. The idea of the second perspective here is in reverse. He walked away to the front and say, "I'll come back ready to eat all of you." So suddenly the cultural hero or the trickster, the fox, show up and start to release the woman.
There's some details.
So he released the one from the tree, and he recommended to the tree woman to leave the cloth hanging from the tree in order to decoy the thing, in order to escape from Kelet. When he came back, he saw the cloth hanging in the tree, and he found something weird. Said, "Something happened here," and he beat the cloth with a stick, and he find out the women run away, and he get mad. He's screaming at the end. Wah!
So how interesting to put it on walrus tusk.
In a water talk in both sides. So this is one side with the story, and then the story continues in the other side.
And I like to think about, I think every culture has these characters that are used to frighten children, for one thing, but they kind of come out in the night, they're dangerous, they're strange looking. And so here we're going from the Bering Strait to probably all of us, probably from a lot of places all over the world, know these stories growing up
but
about
especially in the
Arctic
area, they have a lot of story about the cannibal spirit.
Right.
The cannibal spirit who come out in the middle of the night or in the middle of the wilderness and jump on the person. And so this is at the end it's a good story because everything ending well. So they go ahead. They continue on the other side. They run away through mountains and valleys, and he was chasing still the women until the woman was able to cross a river. And he asked, because he's so stupid, he said, "How you cross the river?" It was a rapid thing, how you cross the river with no clothes, because you are supposed to be frozen. And the 3 women say, "No, because we do that because we are a very powerful witch doctor woman. And basically what we do, we swallow the whole water from the river. And we cross the river, and then we spit the water back to the river." And he said, "Oh, if you do that, I can do the same thing." So he started to do the same thing what the woman suggested to him. So he put in the middle of the river, tried to swallow the whole water. And they start to laughing on him. He tried to come out of the river with a big belly and start to vomiting, and he cannot run. So the 3 women running in 3 different directions, and he remained in the middle with a big belly, And then finally, at the end, he fall off and he died, and he was eaten by the raven at the end.
I think there's a movie like that.
No, it's funny. The whole thing is it's a cartoon trip. It's amazing. You can make a book for kids with that thing.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great
And
story.
it's made it in the most uncomfortable thing to describe a story like that because it's a very smooth and hard piece of ivory, you know?
Right. Beautiful.
Yeah. This is made in the 1940s.
So this idea of storytelling, well, memories and
I love
stories,
I love
and
those.
it's really the
When
thread.
the people had
that-
to
yeah,
tell
that-
the thing, and the people are learning from those things, from those type
and
of
I
mythology.
think looking at your collection, that your collection is about storytelling.
Definitely.
You know, that's the thread that runs through, whether it's from Africa, Mexico, it doesn't matter, but you're always looking for what these objects tell you. And you know what we know about them. And so they tell these stories through symbols. And the way the symbols work, the patterns work, but also metamorphosis, where
Yep.
you've got the crossing of animals and humans and fantasy creatures that play a great role in the objects that we're
Yeah,
looking at.
Here we go to that moment of symbiosis and metamorphosis. And these are two other pieces from the kids, like what I love.
Yeah.
And the Olmec Maya face is the feline mixture with the human face. And the bowl, the stone bowl from the Taino people, in the shape of the semi-dead person, but mixed it up also with the bat. You can see the folded wings on top of the bowl. So the Olmec shell is amazing because they have two inlaid jade pieces there, and it's painted with cinnabar. Cinnabar is an oxide of mercurium, something what the Maya used to use, as well as the old Chinese culture. The Laureate Sayunet say, there's a famous anthropologist from Mexico, there is a whole story about how the Olmec get there to mix it up. That concept of the human face mixed it up with the feline as a jaguar. And she say the Olmec have a legend about that particularly impossible picture between a woman who have the intercourse with the jaguar. And this is the final product, the jaguar man.
Yeah, the were-jaguar. That's the combination for the
And
Olmecs.
the bowl here, the Taino bowl, is also in reference of the how to granite the cojoa. The cojoa, when they also inlaid during the ritual ceremony in order to have a hallucinogenic trip from the beike. So the whole material of the cojoa is granite in the belly of that figure. So here we have another moment of symbiosis. It's a group of women transforming in a manta ray. This is all pieces from Quino Viejo culture. Not many people know about this particular culture. It's from northern Mexico, from the main Sonoran Desert. Those are an ancestor of the Seri India, the ancestor of Somalia, the woman what I showed before. These five are quite old, and the other one in the right side is contemporary, follow the same idea, of that crazy idea like a mermaid women related the woman body with the manta ray standing in the tail. And you can see the body decoration and the chest of every of those figurines, female figurines. They're supposed to be founded in a circle, small circle, with the fireplace in the center. Apparently they were used to marking each girl who passing the ritual passage of ceremony from the transitional moment when they have the first menstruation and they was accepted as a formal women in the community. Here's another moment of transformation. In this case, two animals. And the Cora people, the Cora Nayari people live in the top of Sierra Madre in Nayarit, Mexico. And they performing this particular type of ceremony during the Holy Week. This man had to be destroyed after the Holy Week, and that's why they made it in papier-mâché. They had to be ripped in the river. But the link what they make here between two animals, the Cora is very smart because they combine two impossible animals, an herbivore, who is a deer, with a carnivore, a crocodile from the river. The deer on the upper world, in the top of the mountain, and the crocodile on the underworld, on the bottom of the river. So that's why I have that fierce face of the herbivore with long teeth and a long mouth. Continuing in Mexico, we have this group of Chavacova masks from the Mayo culture from Sonora, Sinaloa. The Cajita culture has this particular character with a very ancient character. It's a mute, sacred clown. He don't supposed to talk, but he make funny things in order to make fun in the community. And they appear during the Holy Week ceremony also. It had to be making like a bucket of leather, of deer skin or goat skin. And they have this mute character, and they have to be born at the end of the Holy Week also. So you can see the link between the Cajita culture from Mexico and the Hopi people from Arizona. It's the same idea of the sacred clown. These are a group of drawings made in school by the kids, the Hopi kid in the 1950s. You can see the link of the bucket, the helmet mask, who cover the identity of the person who's dancing, and with big ears.
Patterns again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So here we have a very important book. I learned a lot from this writer, Carl Schuters. Carl Schuters was an anthropologist who spent all his life traveling around the world, looking for every specific pattern from every living culture in the world. So we can see here in southern China, West China, making an interview to the old lady, asking about the meaning of the embroidery which she made. So this is the major occupation he do, and he make a comparison study between all the patterns about the whole world. And he died before he finished the book, but his partner, Edmund Carpenter, was able to finish the book, and they make a final conclusion. They say every pattern, what the mankind was conceived, was preserved like a mental heritage, like a gene heritage from the Paleolithic time until now. So that's why everybody responds in the same way with certain specific patterns. Those patterns came from the body decoration, the tattoos, the ceramic decoration, and also the design, the textiles. So he make a big comparison between all the cultures, and he found that result, how everything combined together. And he say another important thing. Many of the patterns came from the female side of the community. So specifically the abstract motif came from the female side, and this passing from women to women as a female heritage is different from the representation of the male section of the community. The male are mostly realistic and representational, but the women are abstract. So this is the case. It's a very good case to make an example of the Marajó culture from Brazil with those tangas. These are the only clothing made in clay in the whole world. A tanga is a pubic cover made in clay by women. So every woman made her own clay cover, every pubic cover. And every woman have her own pattern of the decoration. That pattern was acquired during the ceremony of the ayahuasca or yagé ceremony. So they have a visionary state, and they own that one specific design in that particular moment, and they keep it forever. You can see the 3 holes to tie it up around the body in the corner of this. So here we have another sample of that particular pattern where I'm talking about the female side, what is attract in every community. These are the Bora Huitoto people performing the anaconda ceremony in the 1920s. So every pattern of decoration culture is related with 4 specific meanings. The decoration, a body decoration for war, a body decoration for categories in the society, a body decoration for ceremony, and a body decoration for seductions, because this particular ceremony is made in order to attract the eye of the male section in the tribe. So, and talking about seduction, we continue here with the Acarajá people from the Ilha do Bananal in Brazil. They made these little dolls, female figurines. They have painted the same motif what we saw before, but this is from a different area. painting both sides of the cover of the woman, and they leave empty the middle section. Here we have another female pattern. These are made by women on the jars, made by the Chivivo Conivo people, with a specific motif from the ayahuasca. These are those motifs came during the visionary state of when they perform in the ayahuasca, and they keep put it on top of everything, specifically in the jar what they use it for the main meal of the community, the masato. The masato is made with when they peel the manioc, and the old lady start to chew this portion of manioc and spit it inside the recipient, and they let it there for fermented with the human saliva. This is something a very important meal for the community. And here we have, to end this session, another two panels, but in this case from the Plain from Montana, Crow and Saroki. This is the very old design, made on top of the dress, a female dress, made for the Tobacco Society. The dress is painted with the really old technique to paint even in cave. They put the red ochre inside a hollow bone, and they make a shot like a spray on top of the chair in order to represent the stars of the night. And the other one is using to represent the, let me see if I think I brought something here about that. Made it with the raw piece of buffalo. They call it parfleche. They call it parfleche because the area was visited first by the French. Parfleche means envelope in French. And this try to represent how they open the buffalo, how the women cut the buffalo. The buffalo, you know, was a big animal. When they killed one, they cannot turn the animal and open to the belly like in a regular case of the make with other animal. When the buffalo lay down on the ground, they had to open it from the top. So the first thing what they was exposed was the vertebral column of the animal. And this triangular shape represents how they stretch the skin in order to peel the animal apart. And this, in the same way, what the main object is open. It's like this, like an envelope in this form. So they fill it up with meat, dry meat. And they keep in the main meat of the animal inside the main design of the buffalo. So everything I try to prove they have a meaning, no matter if they have geometric pattern like that. And just to finish, I want to show you, I bring two samples because I like to show something real.
Do you want me to go to the next slide?
Yeah, that's it. Talking about the male pattern, realistic representation. That is a page from a shaman book from the Cuna people, from Cunayala archipelago in Panama, and the classical molas. So this is the female style, abstract, made by the women, and this is the realistic and representational style made by men. So living in the same community, they have two different particular styles, completely different. And this is going on and on in many other cultures. This is something to keep in mind, how the women only have an abstract capacity and the men only like to make representational things and try to tell a story about something.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
So we do have a few minutes for some questions, and Sierra has a microphone, so you can kind of raise your hand, and she can go to you and continue the conversation through the questions.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
Good evening. Just a quick question on that, on the ivory tusk. So much of has a very elaborate history. I'm wondering how much of that was an oral history from the people that maybe you acquired the tusk from, or it was acquired, how much of it was, how much of that oral tradition is still living in these communities based on what's been passed down, not just orally, but also representationally?
Well, it's quite common, and they still keep alive many of these traditions, especially in the Arctic section. The people have a long attachment with the main traditions. And actually, I saw other samples of the same story made in walrus stocks. So this is not the only one sample. They have many other samples representing the same story. Apparently, it's a very important story for the community. how the three women defeated Ogre, a monster from the nature who was chasing on those women. They was able to make fun of him and run away and put him in trouble. So this is something like a lesson when they have to spread in the community. Then they have a chance to give it up the problem and resolve safe at the end.
All right, we have another question over here. Go ahead.
Hi there. Thank you so much for the talk. So I was curious, you were talking about objects that, for example, the masks that were meant to be destroyed after the ceremony,
Mhm.
and the other objects that were not to be shown to like the public, like secret objects. I was curious, like in presenting and acquiring these objects, how do you kind of navigate those like cultures or practices, and how you go about showing them despite sort of like their context?
Well, what I try to make here is a selection of things. How can I explain that? When Carol proposed me to talk about the Christmas collection, I tried to make like a weaving story connecting certain things. And in some part of the selection what we make, I found like empty holes. I tried to cover it with certain objects who I think I can match with the thing what we want to talk about. And I like to touch every aspect of a different specific solution what these people have for their own culture. I try to talk about the mixture between animal and human, animal between animals, and different aspects, and also the idea of how in certain cultures, no matter how beautiful and how amazing the representation they make in those things, certain things they cannot last forever. They have to be ephemeral, and they only show up in certain occasions. And this is like a seasonal. They come back the next year and they made it again. So it's like an active thing in the community. That they destroy things, but they remade it again next year. And for me, this is a very important thing, because sometimes we have a sense of permanency in our culture that everything has to be forever, and the people have a different philosophy of life, you know. And in some way also, every generation has to make their own things. That is something very important. This is happening also in the pre-Hispanic time. They count in the centuries over 52 years, what is the portion of life of the person. So by the end of the 52 years, everything had to be destroyed and had to remade it again. Even the main sacred fire had to be turned off and had to be remade again. They broken all the dishes. They ripped up the clothes, and they make new clothes and new dishes. Every generation had to make their own things. And this is something amazing for me, how they teach to produce their own things and to be part of the community and to be part of the moment what they thought they had to live. Huh? Yes, I visit those places many times. It's not the occasional visit. In certain places where I found those objects, I visit from many years. I've been covering this area from the early 80s until now. So I technically patrol in those places year by year, and I see the change, and I see how type of particular cultural form remain, and something is changed and something new is incorporated. But the important thing is how the community is still alive, and they are able to create new things year after year.
So are they willing to share with you these ideas and these stories? They've gotten to know you after many, many visits, because sometimes there are culture areas that are really not that generous. They don't really want, there's secrets, you know, and they don't want to give up the secrets.
But
so
you have to win the confidence. You have to
and
win
you
the
can do
confidence
that
and go
by-
there, and they know me already, and they have a confidence on me, because I saw family, for example, at the time when I arrived there with kids, and those kids now is men and women, and they have family already. So that I spent a long-term relation with those people, and little by little, they always teach me something.
So that goes along with your question also about how you deal with these objects. And what you're saying is that you really have earned the respect of the people.
Yeah,
that, so
I
they
was
will
able
share.
to bring a fragment of that culture. I tried to share it with other people because if I don't bring there, nobody want to know what's going on there. You know, only if you go there, like me or with me. But it's something what I like to share with others. It's just a fragment, because at the end, it's a very limited capacity what I have as a visitor, as a person who acquires something and put it on the wall of my house. So it's more than that. Or actually, you had to see those things alive, in action. It's totally different experience. It's not the same when you saw a mute mass on the wall. When you saw that performing the ceremony, something amazing, something I can't describe that. You have to be there.
People right here.
How do you communicate with the different tribes? Do you have translators or Spanish or?
Sometimes, in English. Sometimes in Africa, in English or French, but in America, with Spanish is enough. Because some people in the native community they don't speak Spanish, but the younger generation, has to go to school, so they are able to speak Spanish. That is the easy way. But yeah.
I'm going to do one question over here, and then I have another one over there. Okay, go ahead. Oh, you want me to read? Okay. How do these sacred spiritual objects affect your own spirituality and religious practice?
Sorry, say it.
How do these sacred spiritual objects affect your own spirituality and religious practice?
Well, it's two different things. My religious practice is something else, because I like many people know, I was initiated in the Afro-Cuban tradition in Cuba. But I found many things in common with certain things what we show here today. I have, beside the different, I try to find the connection and the similarities, and they have many similarities. So in some way, it's like how I can say that, I have my own thesis, I have my own theory of something, and every of these objects is a physical proof of what I have in mind. And I try to remake that con proof every time when I go to those places. And this actually, I consider myself a person who collects a bunch of archetypes, and I am a provisional keeper of that material. My goal in the future is I can share that, or to give it up, this thing, to a museum. Because for me, this is important to share with other people. It's a shame what I have to go there and bring it back to those things and learn it from those things, using part of the elements from my own work, and share with the people the value of this culture. So it's a complicated thing. Everything comes together in some point. But I am like I said before, a collector's archetypes. I like the idea of archetypes, something very old who still is around and still is alive and still have a powerful active force we cannot lose. We have to keep it for the future. And this is my goal, my idea to have this around me. Actually, the people know that I don't have my own painting in my house. I have all the things around me. So I like to enjoy this day by day. And sometimes the main meaning of the thing don't come immediately to me. So it takes a while to be looking this permanently, and eventually something is coming to me and teach me something from that particular object.
You're living with them.
Yep.
You're living with these objects that are they're sacred. I mean,
Yeah.
they're just not ordinary. You know,
Well,
like
they have sacred objects. They have some other
Utilitarian
utilitarian like
objects.
that one. This is for me, it's a utilitarian thing. They have
Yeah, it's an
nothing
envelope.
religious behind it, but the idea to consider open the animal with a simple envelope, a piece of rocks high, and with the design who represent the animal, how you open the animal, how to describe to when you peeling the animal. Somebody ever try to peel an animal? You have to know how I'm talking about. When you start to cut at the animal and remove the skin, they have certain level of colors from the skin when they touch the muscle, And this is what they represent there. So, but what we saw is a geometrical pattern, but they have everything have a meaning, as well as this. Imagine a woman who dressing the stars in herself. This is what it's all about, that dress. Because a woman have a big responsibility to wear that thing because she's a member of the Tobacco Society. And the tobacco, as everybody knows, is the important material what the plain Indian use for the pipe. It's a very important religious thing. So the women who use that is chosen to carry the star on herself. And the star is making like a blowing the energy. So the whole thing, the lump, it's not painting with the hand, it's blowing. They have a shot of red ochre on the body, and she carried the knife with her. So it's something amazing. That type of idea is touching me, you know.
Thank you. We have time for one last question over here. Go ahead.
Mr. Bedia, Dr. Damon, it's a pleasure hearing your talk. Sorry. Yes.
Where are you?
My name
There.
is Julian with FIUCUME, and I had a pleasure hearing your talk. I noticed during your presentation, most of the works in the collection, they told a story. Their symbols, they had meaning. They were used to guide members in those tribes of what danger meant, how to keep their way of life continuing from generation to generation. So my question is essentially, what are some lessons that essentially our society can learn from these collections for us to learn for our generation to come essentially?
Well, like I said before, the final destiny of those things has to be some institution. That I don't take a responsibility for a little while, as long as I am here. But somebody has to take care of that, you know. And I've been teaching by other people who was involved in the same thing. I don't have a training in anthropology, but I trained myself in this. I studied art. But besides that, I try to find my own solution in certain areas where I don't know exactly, specifically. And I try to teach myself, looking into things, and try to extend in the area of knowledge to other people, all the area, friends, visitors, occasional visitors, neighborhoods. This is to keep alive the thing, you know, and share with the people what I've been learning.
That's very important, that these objects are really meant to be shared, but are educational as well.
Yep.
It's a way of
And I learned it myself.
You learn yourself through it, and whenever you go to visit your collection or any collection, the goal should be to learn from it. And as you learn, you're preserving. So preserving the memories, which was, you know, how we all
That's
started.
the whole idea. Had to be a permanent legacy for
Yes, yes.
Okay, everyone, thank you. I think we could give another